Let's go into the top 25, and Tom, we'll flash the 5 who just missed at the end of the segment. So let's go to the number 25 on the list, and it's one Colin Kaepernick, who has an ongoing collusion case against the NFL, which kind of makes it hard for him to find a job when you're suing your employer.
Yeah, so we're going to keep Kaepernick at 25 because even though he should definitely be signed based on his on-the-field play, he's probably not going to get signed at this point, Cam. Like, there are a lot of bad quarterbacks, Austin Davis, that keep getting signed to the NFL. It doesn't make sense to me for Kaepernick to not be on the roster. All right, a roster. I think Seattle would have made perfect sense for him because if and when Russell Wilson gets hurt, hopefully never, you really think Austin Davis and Alex Magoo is going to be the ideal option there?
Magoo, P.U.
Yeah, there you go.
I can't help
That's your favorite line.
That
you
is
love
my
that
favorite
one.
line. Yeah, I mean, Colin Kaepernick had that visit planned with the Seattle Seahawks. That eventually got canceled when Kaepernick really couldn't make it clear whether or not he was going to kneel during the 2018 NFL season, and that was that. So Kaepernick continues to look for a job. We'll talk about Eric Reid later. He also has an ongoing collusion case against the NFL. Some major names have been deposed in Kaepernick's case, talking about Bob McNair and Jerry Jones and John Harbaugh and Ozzie Newsome, Stephen Ross, owner of the Miami Dolphins as well. So here's the one theory about the collusion cases that are going on, Tom, and this is what I feel maybe is really the case. Kaepernick probably doesn't even think he's going to win this case, but maybe he's trying to put pressure on the owners to just make them say to themselves, all right, let's not go through the legal fees here. Let's just bring him in and make him a quarterback.
This is such a simple collusion case to end. Offer a minimum contract, and if he accepts it, boom, you're done. If he declines it, why do you want to play? No one, like Seattle canceled a visit on him. Like, this is a really simple collusion case to finish up. Like, all the team has to do is offer him a contract.
And he drops it.
And there's no collusion.
Exactly.
And the NFL wins like, well, you said no.
And
that's all you have to do.
Collusion is so hard to prove, too, where he's
probably not going to win.
You have to have some sort of video recording or audio recording of all 32 NFL owners sipping tea together saying, hey, let's keep Colin Kaepernick out of the NFL. I don't think
NFL
that's his main motivation
more
here.
as a bourbon crowd.
Yeah, well, that's very true. Well, we're keeping it PG here in the program. No alcohol talk, Tom. All right, so Colin Kaepernick's at number 25. Let's go to number 24, talking about perhaps a future first ballot Hall of Famer here, Antonio Gates. He's still going to give it one more run, at least one more season, Tom.
Oh, that's what he says.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys kind of near the bottom are some of the bigger names that I think it's a fair question to ask. Do they actually have anything more left? Like, Antonio Gates can still be a decent red zone option for you, but it's kind of not a big surprise to me that Gates kind of got phased out a little bit once he got that touchdown mark. And then Hunter Henry, obviously incorrectly for the Chargers, was the right move, getting him more reps and more time. That's a better tight end right now. So with Gates, I hope he can find a place in the NFL. I think he still has some stuff to bring, but I mean, you can take a look at his last couple of years, Cam, and it's declined, plain and simple. And at age 38, with that's what he's going to be in June. I think it's a fair question. How much does Gates actually have left?
Tight end is definitely a shallow position, so I do think he will get interest out there. Now, could come down to money with him. Who knows if he'd be okay with taking somewhat of a pay cut. So
it's interesting because the Chargers are not going to bring him back, and that's kind of saying goodbye to a franchise icon, a man that will, without a doubt, retire in the Hall of Fame as a Charger. So what do you do with him then?
Right.
Like, if you're like Denver, do you just like go sign Antonio Gates?
I don't know.
Do the rival route?
There might be a troll job somewhere within the AFC West that just brings him in and just says, hey, give us some intel. You know, because he has all the intel in the world for the LA Chargers there. Let us know, is it time for Antonio Gates to retire? Give us a heart for yes, a like for not quite yet. Let's go to number 23 on the list here. Talking about a running back who still thinks he should get 3 down running back type of carries here, Adrian Peterson, formerly of the Cardinals, Tom.
Yeah, he's I just don't know how much he actually has left, Cam. It's the same deal with Gates. Like, at age 33, he hasn't done a whole lot the past 2 years. What does he actually have left to bring for you for a guy that does not offer third down value?
I mean, you look at Adrian, he's going to have to put his ego aside, number one, and understand that he's not going to be carrying the brunt of the workload anymore in the backfield. So point number one there with him.
Here's the issue for a lot of these older players, and this is why the NFL in reality is kind of ageist, just in general. Best case Peterson, he is a number 2 back, but he doesn't bring any third down value. He doesn't bring anything on special teams. So how are you going to have a backup that's only good on first and second downs, and frankly, hasn't been very good the past 2 years?
I mean, the only argument would be,
where do you fit him?
Goal line carries. That's it. And does he want to do that? Heck no.
And on the flip side, you can get that from anybody.
Yeah.
So younger players are cheaper, so that's the overall concern with me with Adrian Peterson. He can still be, I think overall he is definitely one of the top, let's just say, 90 backs in the NFL. He's still one of the top 90, but does the money and what he brings outside of just being a halfback, especially in his pass catching and blocking, etc., does that make it worthwhile for an NFL team? And I don't know if he actually does.
A lot of factors there. Adrian Peterson.
All-time great either way.
Checks in at number 23 on the list here. Let's go to number 22. Kind of shocking that this guy is still available. Eric Decker recently visited with the Baltimore Ravens. They never found a deal with him, so Decker's still looking for a team.
I think he'll get signed, but I really don't know where he's going to end up. Now, he wasn't the same player with the Titans last year. There have been some injuries in the past with Eric Decker. I don't think Tennessee's offense used him very well either. He can still be that veteran slot receiver type, but what team really needs a good veteran slot receiver? I wouldn't mind Buffalo, even though I think Zay Jones can play some of that slot role. I think Buffalo makes sense for every team, every receiver out there. I think Decker could be a nice fit up north with the Bills, but Denver had some buzz about being a fit, then they drafted 2 receivers early. So cross off Denver as being an option. The Jets obviously don't need somebody, and I don't think he's going to be back in Tennessee. So I could see him getting signed, but Decker might be one of those guys that has to wait until somebody gets hurt, and then he's the veteran brought in to help fill that stopgap for a season. I
still think he is a viable option in the red zone. He just didn't show it really with Tennessee.
I blame the Titans offense for that.
And I do, also with
I'm very
the whole
mean to Mike Mularkey.
Mike Mularkey situation. Oh, what a joke that was. All right, so there you go. Eric Decker's at number 22. I got a lot of faith in this guy at 21. Julius Thomas. I mean, the Thomas experiment in Miami did work, but I still think he's a really good talent.
But it also didn't work in Jacksonville. It's actually only worked in Denver. And that was touchdown-wise, because outside of 1 year, his numbers in terms of catches and yards weren't that great. So if you need a red zone option at tight end, okay, then I could see Julius Thomas being a fit. I don't know if he is an ideal blocker. I think he can still do it. He should definitely be signed.
Yeah.
Worst case, he is a good number 2 or a great number 3. He should definitely be on an NFL roster. But just the production the past 5 years, there's a pretty steady theme outside of a bit of a resurgence in terms of yards and receptions in Miami. That's a drop-off, Cam. That's kind of a steady decline right there for Julius Thomas.
He worked really well with Adam Gase in Denver.
He did.
He didn't work really well with Adam Gase in Miami.
There were a lot better players in that Denver offense, including Peyton Manning at his prime.
Yeah,
or not his prime, but
that's a good point.
Still
so,
a peak Peyton Manning.
I don't think Julius Thomas is Denver Julius, but I don't think he's Jacksonville or Miami Julius either. He's somewhere in the middle.
I think the best
we'll
case,
find that.
I think best case you're hoping for 2015 Thomas.
Okay.
45-ish receptions, 400 to 500 yards, somewhere in that range, and about 5 TDs, which is valuable. There's definitely a spot for him on an NFL roster. I just don't think he's going to be he is our number 1 tight end. We are set now. He's just not going to be that guy. Frankly, none of these guys in free agency are going to be that guy. Otherwise, they'd be signed.
It is early May.
There's a reason why all these guys are unsigned right now.
There's the whole but wait kind of factor with all these players. All right, let's go to number 20 on the list here. The but wait with Tyvon Branch here is that he hasn't really been healthy the last few years. Played in 9 games for the Cardinals in 2017, 6 games in 2016. But when he's healthy, he's an effective safety. I like him.
This is one of several defensive backs and safeties that I'm kind of like, I don't know how to rank them.
Yeah.
Because all of them either have injury issues, they had a down year, and in general, the safety market makes no sense right now.
Sure.
Because no one good has been signed outside of Mike Mitchell or outside of Morgan Burnett. Like, there are so many safeties still left unsigned, which is confusing to me. So Branch, with his time with the Cardinals, with his time with the Chiefs, we've seen the ability to be a good safety. And now the torn ACL in November is going to be an issue. I think teams will wait until he's actually healthy, and then he'll get signed. He might be a preseason guy that gets signed, right before week 1 once he's closer to being healthy.
I mean, when Trey Boston's still looking for a spot, I think it's going to take some time with Tyvon Branch.
Who we'll get to as well, by the way.
All right.
Injury is the big concern with Branch.
Let's go to number 19. This guy used to be one of the elite guards in the NFL. I feel like with all these guys, Tom, we're going down memory lane here.
Yeah.
Like Jahri Evans at number 19. This guy used to be a top-line guard. Not anymore.
I still think he's an okay starter. Like, he's not going to be a great offensive guard, but I still think he is pretty close to being starting caliber. I think he's one of the best 64.
Okay,
I think he
that's
definitely
fair.
is. So the reason he hasn't been signed yet, he's 35 years old. So teams are, again, they're kind of ageist at times. They really want to find young guys to fill that role. They want to go young every chance they get. So as a result, guys like Evans don't get signed. We saw it with the Saints when they let go of Evans. The Packers as well. Evans is still a starting caliber NFL guard, but at his age, teams are just very hesitant to sign him. But there are
Seattle, sign him.
I think the Bills would be a good fit.
Yeah, incognito.
I think
moving on.
Denver, if they want to start him over Connor McGovern, and there are other options there. I think Carolina could be a fit. Green Bay as well. If one of their young guys has a rough time in the preseason, they could pick up the phone and call Evans and bring him back in. So Evans is one of those guys, a tough spot. He's a veteran. He's still got to stay in shape even though he's not on a team right now because the phone could ring at any minute.
All right. And we know that guards out there are highly coveted in the NFL these days. All right, we got Jahri Evans there at number 19. There's a rundown of some of the teams that could give him a ring. Let's go to number 18 on the list here. We mentioned him in the rumors section. Terrell McClain. And, you know, there's been some links now to the San Francisco 49ers, which is an interesting one. But I'm also zoning in on maybe Miami, maybe Dallas as well.
I think both those teams make a lot of sense as well. I think the Cowboys would like to bring him back to fill that one technique role. That's what Terrell McClain is best at. As a 4-3 nose guard, can kind of take on the blockers, help free up your linebackers. He is never and never has been a 5-10 sack guy. That's not who he is. He's not Aaron Donald. He is a run stopper at the defensive tackle spot, which every NFL team needs. They're just a little bit more common than, say, a true disruptor at the defensive tackle, a true pass rusher there. The Niners, if they want to have someone compete with Earl Mitchell. The Dolphins have some young guys that could use a veteran at the defensive tackle spot. And the Cowboys had McClain for several years. He was a good player for them. And then he went to the Redskins, and they put him in a bad role. It wasn't the right scheme fit for him, and no surprise he struggled. They moved on once they got to Ron Payne. He's still a solid player. It's not a sexy name like some of the receivers and safeties that we'll get to, but I think he's a quality player. And there's a reason why, of all these players, McClain is getting the most interest right now. He was just cut, and teams still want him.
Absolutely. He's getting a fair share of calls right now. You mentioned Earl Mitchell has not been very good the last few years for the 49ers, so you plug in McClain next to Buckner there. It's pretty good interior for the 49ers.
The interior is good.
And I
think overall.
Most of my concerns with that defense there for San Francisco actually comes at the edge rusher and the Leo positions where Solomon Thomas is working on his pass rushing ability. Eric Armstead kind of has hit his ceiling in my eyes. So Fred Warner, perhaps there's some promise that maybe he can create some sacks. But for San Francisco, it's interesting that they're really zoning in on the interior of that line rather than the outside.
They did that in the draft, too, which I was very intrigued by. Maybe they really don't trust Earl Mitchell at all.
Yep. All right, let's get to the next name on our list. At number 17 is Quentin Demps here, Tom, and now he's on the open market, formerly of the Bears.
I like him. I like him a lot. As long as we get 2016 Quentin Demps, when he had six picks and 9 pass breakups and not limited to 3 games because he broke his arm, Quentin Demps. So the arm injury is why he hasn't signed, and plus, as we'll mention many a time here, the safety market doesn't make any sense, Cam.
No.
There are a bunch of safeties that have not been signed for whatever reason. I think it's just a bad market, which, by the way, really hurts Eric Reid's collusion accusation because it's just a weird market overall. So, but there are multiple teams that I think could use a player like Quentin Demps, and there are a lot of teams that could use safety overall. Panthers, I still think, need a guy. I think Houston, because Demps has played for them, could be a nice backup there. Cowboys, Chiefs, and Cardinals, I still think all need a safety. So any of those teams make sense, at least in my eyes. I am curious to what ends up happening to Demps. I'm sure he'll get signed. He just might have to wait a little bit.
You get a safety, you get a safety, you get a safety. I think that's where we're at right now.
Yes.
So many safeties out there available, including this guy, Mike Mitchell, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's in at number 16 on our list here, Tom, and he's a good player, but I feel like he's on the decline a bit.
He definitely is on the decline. At this point, Mike Mitchell is going to turn 31 years old. He's getting up there in age now. There had been a report that he hadn't been signed because he couldn't run anymore. Mike Mitchell recently blamed that he had a broken foot all year.
Oh, boy.
And that's why he wasn't running as fast. So I'll take him at his word here and say that, yeah, that's the case. But if that's also the case, he's battled injuries for the past couple years.
Sure.
So, again,
another flip to
maybe you don't want to pick him up. So I think Minnesota could be a decent fit. He's played some strong safety there. I think Carolina, Cowboys, Chiefs, Cardinals, again. See those teams all the time for safeties. Those teams all need somebody. I think Mike Mitchell could be a strong option on that end if they want a box safety. And if, by the way, he actually is healthy. We'll see if that's actually the case.
All right, folks, we're ranking the available free agents right now. Let's summarize the list so far presented by Autolist. Head on to Autolist.com to get that car shopping done in a flash. So at number 25, we've got Colin Kaepernick, followed by Antonio Gates, Adrian Peterson, Eric Decker, and then Julius Thomas, 25 through 21 there. And then 20 through 16, Tyvon Branch, then Jahri Evans, Terrell McClain, Quintin Demps, and then Mike Mitchell. Let's continue along here with our rankings, and checking in at number 15, Pac-Man Jones himself.
He's Adam now. He goes by Adam.
Oh, is that official?
Yeah, he doesn't want to be called that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Even though he still kind of acts like it sometimes. And that's also why hasn't been a whole lot of interest in Adam Jones. Now, I still think he can be a decent backup cornerback, but with all of the off-the-field stuff throughout his NFL career, with him about to turn 25 years old, I think this might be it for Adam Jones, Cam. The Bengals drafted Darius Phillips. I think that might have been a clear sign, assuming Phillips is healthy and looks okay in the preseason. The Bengals just aren't going to bring back Adam Jones. And if the Bengals don't bring back Adam Jones, I think his time might be up. But if you want a guy that can kind of play some nickel, some special teams roles, maybe you try and look here for, some help or a future option for Adam Jones.
It just might be want over. The baggage? I don't
That's
want the
the
baggage.
concern. Talent-wise, I think he's around. He might even be higher than this. But with all the baggage and off-the-field stuff, it's kind of like, maybe we'll just focus on somebody else. Sorry, Adam.
All right, Adam Jones.
There's been no reports of him having any interest.
He's there at number 15. Let's go to number 14. And this guy battled some injuries last year. Jeremy Maclin, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens. Never got it going with Joe Flacco last year. 40 receptions, 440 yards, 3 touchdowns. Battled a few injuries that forced him to miss some games here. And Joe Flacco, of course, missed the entire preseason. So that probably had an effect in terms of chemistry. So Maclin's still out there.
Maclin is such an interesting player because there was some interest. The Cowboys had some interest before they signed Allen Hurns. The Eagles kind of had some, and then they made some moves to get other players at receiver instead. So I think he'll get signed, Cam, but, his numbers really do speak for themselves. 2015, 2014, Maclin was a really good player. Since then, amid some injuries, he has not been very good. So I think he'll get signed for a team that needs a veteran guy who can play some slot, kind of like Eric Decker, but he is not the same player he once was.
No.
I don't think you're ever going to see that peak Jeremy Maclin ever again.
Look at those numbers from 2015 and 2014, too.
Great numbers. Those were great.
And it feels like a stone's throw away, too.
It's not even like just add 2016, 2017 together, and you're kind of getting closer to that.
Unbelievable. All right, so Jeremy Maclin
pound.
still out there looking for a team. He's at number 14 in our rankings. Kind of surprising this guy's available. DeMarco Murray is here at number 13 on the list. Had some visits in the past with the Lions and the Colts. I feel like there are still some RB needy teams out there. What do you think of DeMarco Murray?
It's very funny because we'll bring up the teams that have been linked to DeMarco Murray, some of the teams that have had interest with him overall, namely the Seahawks, Dolphins, and the Lions. Well, those teams don't need a halfback anymore, Cam. The Dolphins added Frank Gore and Kalen Ballage out of Arizona State. The Lions went out and they signed LeGarrette Blount and drafted Kerryon Johnson, and the Seahawks drafted Rashad Penny. So those are the 3 teams that have actually shown interest in DeMarco Murray. So now it becomes, okay, which teams could kind of make a little bit more sense for DeMarco Murray? And I think that's kind of the very intriguing factor for me here with what they could potentially do as well.
You think maybe the Baltimore Ravens or the Carolina Panthers? I like the Colts. I think they'd be a nice fit there. You look at the running back core for Indianapolis, and it's like Marlon Mack, and then who? That's where you're at.
Maybe.
With that.
I think the Bucs, if they want to have someone to pair with Jones early in his career, that kind of deal. Panthers, I guess, made more sense before C.J. Anderson was signed, but why not have 3?
Sure. DeMarco Murray, he's there at number 13 on our list of available free agents out there. Let's go to number 12, and it's Delvin Breaux, formerly of the Saints. Only a couple years under his belt here, Tom, in his NFL career.
Injuries are why he has not been signed. I think he is incredibly talented, but the dude just cannot stay healthy. He's had a litany of issues with the Saints, one of which ended up resulting in the Saints firing their team doctors because they misdiagnosed it and actually made things worse for Delvin Breaux. Talent-wise, I think it's definitely there for Breaux, and I think if you want to take a flyer on a defensive back who maybe you bring him in as your fourth or your fifth guy, and you end up having a really good fourth or fifth, I think it's worthwhile. I think I'm definitely higher on Breaux because of what he did in the past, but the injuries are a massive red flag for pretty much anybody out there.
We got Denver, we got the Saints, we got New England all as teams linked to Breaux right now. You think he'll find a home eventually?
I could see the Saints bringing him back, maybe. Okay. But all those teams kind of address their cornerback needs. So he might have to wait a little bit, and he might never play again because of the injuries. So if we look back on this in 2 years and go, wow, you had Delvin Breaux at 12, it's probably because he wasn't healthy.
Yeah. All right, so he's there in our rankings inside the top 15. Let's go to number 11 on the list here. And by the way, folks, keep coming with those comments on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. We'll show them during the broadcast. Kayvon Webster here at number 11. Started a good amount of games for the Rams last year.
He was good until he ruptured his Achilles.
Yeah.
And then the Rams went out and they got Marcus Peters and they got to keep saying, like, okay, you're hurt, Webster, so sorry, but you're cut.
Yeah. Basically.
And maybe he comes back. Maybe he goes back to Denver as well. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with Webster. I think he's a talented guy. I thought he showed some promise as a number 2 corner for the Rams before he blew out his Achilles. But that's just overall the big concern for me, is that injury. Much like Delvin Breaux, talent-wise, I think it's definitely there. The injuries are a lesser concern. This is another player that you will not see signed until he gets healthy, and that might not happen this year. Achilles injuries are tough to come back from, especially for a cornerback that has to, run a lot, has to go back and forth, change direction, all that kind of stuff. So Webster might not be good to go for the start of the season. He might wait a little bit and then get signed as well. I like the talent and the upside there. Should be a low-risk move. I think if you're a cornerback-needy team, the Chiefs maybe, bring him on. See if he can become your actual number 2 corner going forward.
Kayvon Webster, starting 11 games last year for the Rams. He's there at number 11 on our list. Let's get to the top 10 here. At number 10, Robert Ayers, edge rusher, formerly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, also the New York Giants as well.
He had a down year, and that's why he got cut. That's why he has not been signed. And injuries also a big factor on that end. But 16 combined sacks, 2015 and 2016. I think if he comes back and kind of returns to form here, you could end up getting a guy that can give you, let's just say, 5 sacks. And just as a number 4, number 3 defensive end who's okay against the run, I think that's a valuable role. Now, his age is, going to play against him here, but I think he's worth signing for an NFL team if you're looking for a 4-3 defensive end. The production overall, Cam, the past couple years has been pretty good. It was not good last year, but 6.5, 9.5, 5, and 5.5, pretty good numbers.
Sure.
Also, side note, it's funny to me how many former Denver Broncos are actually on this list. There's guys at a layover there.
Kayvon Webster was there.
Eric Decker, Robert was on there.
Of course, CJ's now signed.
Yeah, so just kind of funny to me how that worked out.
I think there's going to be, at some point, a good market for Robert Ayers. It's actually kind of surprising he has not found a team yet. So the fact that he's still on the open market is staggering to me. Now, we'll see what happens going forward. You take a look at the last 5 years, his sacks on the decline, 9.5, 6.5, and then down to 2 here.
Yeah, so decline, and you see that negative trend, you go, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, he's getting older.
He is, but I still think he can play a nice, valuable role as a backup defensive end. And at this point in the year, that's kind of what you're hoping for when you're signing players, outside of a few exceptions. All
right, let's go to number 9 on the list here. Austin Howard, who played with the Baltimore Ravens a year ago at right tackle. He can start. He's quality. Struggles in pass protection a little bit, but
I'm just kind of surprised he hasn't been signed yet. Now, Cam, I know you're a Baltimore fan. You've seen him play a lot. Do you have any insight as to why? Because I'm just kind of like, am I missing something? I know he's not the best pass protector, but he's better than some starters out there, right?
And especially when you look at the offensive line this year, for the general macro perspective of the NFL, quality of play is just not good across the board, and it is kind of surprising that Austin Howard has not found a team yet. And 36th ranked tackle, according to Pro Football Focus a year ago, so it wasn't an awful ranking by any means.
Average starter.
It's an average starter ranking, and I'd have no inside information in terms of why he is still unsigned.
The Raiders cut him, then Baltimore did, and Oakland had a worse player at right tackle after cutting Howard. I know there have been some injury issues in the past, but if I'm a team, and I'll just make fun of them again, Seattle, who would you rather have, Jermaine Ifedi or Austin Howard? I feel like it'd be pretty obvious. Now, we know Seattle doesn't approach things that way, and I find it very odd he has not been signed yet. If you're a team that you need a tackle right now, or the Giants, for example, with Eric Flowers' future, let's just say, in question, why wouldn't you bring in Austin Howard?
Here's the one point I will make about Austin Howard. He wasn't cheap for the Baltimore Ravens, and so that was a big reason why they let him go, right? In terms of the return on investment that the Ravens were getting with Austin Howard, it just did not match up. They were paying too much for the production on the field there. So he's there at number 9 in our rankings, Tom. We'll see if he can find a home pretty soon.
I hope so.
Right tackle there. All right, let's go to number 8 on the list here, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. So kind of a rough ending with him and the Giants, Tom.
Yeah, the Giants asked him to move to free safety. He said okay, and they said, oh, also, take a pay cut. And he's like, I'm not doing both. So he got cut. And I think he kind of hurt himself because he reportedly had an offer on the table from the Redskins, but was going to wait to make his decision. And then the Redskins signed Orlando Scandrick, and I wonder if that offer wasn't just taken off the table. So I think DRC kind of waiting a little bit may have hurt himself. So the only teams that we've seen actually linked to DRC are the Saints and the Redskins, and that's why he hasn't been signed yet, because the Redskins got Sandrick and the Saints got Patrick Robinson.
Yep.
So why would you want DRC then? You don't need him anymore. So I would imagine he gets signed by somebody, but he has kind of said he wants to play outside corner. He might have to move inside and play more nickel, which I don't think he wants to do, but at this stage in his career, might be all he's able to do.
You know, we're talking about a lot of these guys, and they're grizzled veterans, and we'll talk about Dez Bryant.
The veterans always last in free agency.
And, you know, it seems like we're on this similar theme here, talking about Adrian Peterson. He's got to understand that he has to change his role. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, he's got to change his role a little bit now, too. Is it hard for players, veterans, to kind of think to themselves, oh my God, is the career turning here? I got to make some adjustments?
I mean, just think about it for anyone, any job. Like, you've been doing your job well the past several years. Now, maybe you had a little bit of a down year. All of a sudden, you're asked, hey, you're going to be demoted. It's like, no, I'm not going to be demoted. I'm still good at what I do. And now you have to, and if you don't take the demotion, you get fired. Now you got to go to a new company.
Sure.
They don't know you. So it's that difference, that change in scenery, the removal of the familiarity and all that. It hurts a lot of these veterans because it's a very tough pill to swallow and a tough role to handle. There's a reason why you see a lot of teams cut players and they take a while to get signed.
Usually it's denial, then it's acceptance, and maybe we'll see that eventually with
That's why you see guys try to take a 1-year prove-it deal, so hey, I can still do it, and then cash in with a bigger role and more money.
All right, so Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie is there at number 8 in our rankings here of available free agents. Let's go to number 7, and it's Kenny Vaccaro, who has played his entire career with the Saints. Obviously, that is going to change pretty soon, Tom, unless he goes back.
I really thought the Dallas Cowboys were going to end up signing him. I really did, and then they didn't, Cam, and I wonder if it's Vaccaro had his own little protesting thing with the Saints. Maybe that's an issue, but I think overall, again, the safety market's a gigantic mess right now. Eric Reed, Kenny Vaccaro, Trey Boston, all these safeties are talented players that have not been signed. Now, I'll also make note of this. There have been some on-the-field plays with Vaccaro. He didn't grade out all that well on Pro Football Focus, but he made a lot of plays. So I don't have an issue with that for Vaccaro. I think he's a talented player. He can play safety, he can play some nickel for you. He is worthy of an NFL spot. I think he'd be a great fit for the Cowboys. I think the Chiefs, the Cardinals, the Colts, if they want to go that route, although they probably won't go for a veteran. I think all those teams could use a player of Vaccaro's skill set. Yeah, he had a down year on Pro Football Focus and other grading sites, but he still made some big plays. He's a former first-round pick. He's not a god-awful player. I mean, who's this the Titans just signed from the Ravens? I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Oh, Kendrick Lewis.
Yeah, you're seeing all these random guys that should not be signed, before players like Vacarro and Boston and Reed.
Yeah.
Now, I guess the role they're going to play is a factor there, but
I'm wondering if money is a big-time factor as well.
there hasn't been any interest in Vacarro, which makes no sense to me. So I think it's just the safety market in general is just very strange this year. But we're in the top 7 now. I think we are now in the group of players that are starting caliber. I think you make the argument for a guy like Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, Austin Howard even as well. Those guys overall are definitely players who can be starters in the NFL.
All right, so there you go. Kenny Vaccaro is there at number 7 on the list, Tom.
Got a comment, too, coming in.
We do have a comment?
Yes,
all right,
from YouTube here, from Tyler. I think it's pronounced Nielsen. Hopefully I got your last name right there, Tyler. He says Vaccaro is not a good fit in Dallas, period. Stephen Jones has said that Kenny Vaccaro is not a good fit. You can find a spot for Kenny Vaccaro with the Cowboys, be it as a strong safety or a nickel corner, whatever. There is a room for him on that safety depth chart. And on the flip side, Stephen Jones said Eric Reid and Trey Boston also aren't good fits. Those 3 players are all different types of safeties. So I do believe that Vaccaro, Boston, Reid are all fits for the Cowboys. I just don't think they want to sign a safety right now. So I don't believe that Vaccaro doesn't fit in Dallas. I disagree with you there, Tyler. But thank you for commenting. We appreciate it.
All right, Tyler chiming in here on the broadcast. Be sure to hit us up, and you too could be featured here live on NFL Daily. Let's go to number 6 in our rankings. We've mentioned this name a couple times. It's Trey Boston, and Tom, I'm at a loss for words.
He can play free safety, so why wouldn't you sign him?
I know.
I just find it very confusing. The safety market, again, I'll hop on it one more time here, Cam.
Yep.
The safety market makes no sense. Trey Boston should be signed. He had 5 interceptions and 8 pass breakups. Now, I think some teams are afraid he's not really a free safety in his best as strong safety, and NFL teams are clearly valuing free safeties a lot more right now than strong safeties. And I think potentially they are wildly overinflating their own players at that position. I mean, we saw in the draft, the safeties slid for like no reason. So if I'm Trey Boston, I actually think the Chargers could make sense if you want to let Derwin James play a hybrid role early. I don't know if that makes the best sense there. He has some issue with Carolina, maybe not the best fit there. But if I'm Kansas City, I go sign Trey Boston. I pair him with Eric Berry. That's a really good 1-2 punch. So it's baffling to me that Trey Boston, Vaccaro, and Eric Reid as well have not been signed yet. Just does not make sense.
All right, potential fits there. We got the Chargers, the Panthers, the Cowboys. Boy, I'll tell you what, if Dallas picks them up, that'd be something.
The Cowboys have harped on wanting a true free safety at times. Other times they've said that they like Xavier Woods, so it is what it is there. Mm-hmm. Boston could be a free safety. So I think NFL teams just don't want to sign safeties right now, overall. All
right, Trey Boston's there at number 6. Let's take a look at our rankings so far. So there's Cap, Antonio Gates, Adrian Peterson, Eric Decker, and Julius Thomas, 25 through 21. Tyvon Branch, Jahri Evans, Terrell McClain, Quintin Demps, and Mike Mitchell, 20 through 16.
Safeties.
Yes, lots of safeties. Like I said, Oprah, you get a safety, you get a safety. 15 through 11, Adam Jones, Jeremy Maclin, DeMarco Murray, Delvin Breaux, and Kayvon Webster. And then 10 through 6, Robert Ayers, Austin Howard, DRC, Kenny Vaccaro, and Trey Boston.
Safeties, and we're not done yet.
We are not. We're going to get inside the top 5. But first, this is NFL Daily presented by Autolist. Head on to Autolist.com. Get that car shopping done, folks. Talking about new and used cars out there. Very easy website to navigate, Tom. I've been on it a couple times today, and I just breezed through it.
It's easy. It's a simple way to search for a car. I like to drive my car in a fun way, or at least my fiance's car in a fun way, because I don't have my own, which is why I'm using Autolist. If I can get myself a car and save time and money in the process, what's not to like?
And they're sponsoring NFL Daily here today. Let's go to number 5 on our list of available free agents. Jonathan Hankins, defensive tackle, started 15 games last year for the Colts, 20th ranked defensive lineman according to Pro Football Focus.
Had the 1 year where he showed the ability to be a great pass rusher, but I don't think that's actually who he is. I think he's kind of more of a better Terrell McClain. Can bring a little bit of pass rush, but that's a big boy right there, yeah. Cam. That's a defensive tackle who's going to clog up the running lane. So Detroit in particular, at least in my eyes, Cam, makes a lot of sense. Now, all these teams that we're going to mention here in a second have shown some of interest. The Falcons are a little bit more speculative based on other reports I've read, but their GM said that they want more defensive line depth. Hankins would be a great fit there. you have a great defensive line. They have the money to afford it as well. Redskins had interest, but then they drafted Daron Payne, so
they're okay there.
In reality, probably cross them off those. I think Detroit and Atlanta makes sense. The Jets brought him in for a visit because they just love defensive tackles for some reason. I don't really know why. They drafted 2 of them and then brought in Hankins. So I think Detroit or Atlanta is the most logical fit for Hankins right now. And
I think Atlanta would be a good one.
You get a starter, which you typically don't find. Even though he's not an elite starter, you get a guy that can give you starting snaps each game.
All right, Jonathan Hankins is there at number 5 on our list. Let's go to number 4. Bashaud Breeland, there was the whole failed physical thing, and then it just kind of went from there.
Look, talent-wise, he's at least number 4, but the injury is why there's been, no interest in Breeland. He was going to get 3 years, $24 million, had a foot infection, and his deal was voided because of it.
Yep.
That sucks, man.
That does suck.
You just locked yourself in for it's not really truly going to be $24 million. Let's say half that. You locked yourself in for at least $12 to $15 million no matter what happens, and then you fail your physical because of an injury. That sucks. That's brutal. Now, the Redskins have said they don't have any interest in bringing back Breeland. I actually wouldn't hate it, though. I think they're a little bit thin overall corner because of some past injuries and losing guys like Fuller. Arizona, they need another corner unless they really want to get by with guys like Marcus Williams and Brandon Williams and a bunch of guys no one's heard of there.
Yep.
Seattle, I still think needs cornerback help. The Colts, if they want a veteran guy, because they're pretty thin there. The Chiefs as well. I think all those teams would be good fits for Bashaud Breeland. I think teams are very scared right now of that foot infection. They are a hard pass until he's fully healthy. And then once he's healthy, it'll be a 1-year prove-it deal, and he'll try again next offseason.
And he's going to have to prove it, too, to teams, that he's okay and he can move on there. So Bashaud Breeland is at number 4 in our rankings. We do have a YouTube comment coming in from Bears Hater, #ChatSports, who is a better free agent, Navorro Bowman or Dez Bryant. You're going to get our answer right here, Bears Hater. So at number 3, Navorro Bowman here. And it's actually amazing he's still on the open market. In fact, these final 3 players, it's still interesting to really hear about. What do we make of Bowman?
I think it's a good time just to make mention of this overall. Each individual team is going to have different players at the top. If you're a team that doesn't need a linebacker, you're not going to want to bring in Navorro Bowman. If you're a team that doesn't need a wide receiver, you're not going to bring in Dez Bryant. And having players already signed elsewhere, I think, is a big reason why you see guys like Bowman, like Dez Bryant, like others, they haven't signed yet because the pool of available teams has been cut down in a pretty significant way. But as for Navorro Bowman, I know where he should sign, Cam. Send him to Pittsburgh. That is a perfect fit for Bowman. They need another linebacker. Pittsburgh is where Bowman should go. He can compete for a championship there. He can be maybe even their best linebacker overall in terms of inside linebackers. So I think Bowman to Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense. The Raiders should have brought back Bowman, but they went out and signed Derek Johnson instead. I think that pretty much ends any hope, Cam, of Bowman back to Oakland.
I thought the Derek Johnson visit with the Oakland Raiders was a ploy there to get Navorro Bowman to take less money. Huh? And, yeah, they fooled me. Hit us up in the comments section. Show the Raiders bring back Navorro Bowman. Seems like that
send him to Pittsburgh.
Appears to be a pipe dream. Yeah. By the way, we answered Tyler's comment earlier in the broadcast, Tom. He says we're the best.
Oh, thank you, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate that.
My man.
You're the best, too. All right, we got Navorro Bowman there at number 3. Let's go to number 2. A lot to talk about here. Certainly a good chunk to unpack with Eric Reid because he's got the ongoing collusion case against the NFL now. He's a quality safety, but now he's got this baggage here.
So at number 2, ignore the whole collusion thing because that's not helpful. And I actually think Eric Reid has made a mistake by accusing the NFL of collusion because, as we've mentioned throughout the show, Cam, the safety market is just weird. It's just not a good market. It's a different market. It's been straight up bad. A lot of talented players have not signed, but I do think the reality is that there have been teams that have not signed Eric Reid because of the protesting, because of his kneeling. I think the Bengals are among them. I think Houston's not going to do it. And Bud McNair's made that pretty clear.
Houston will definitely
not.
So
Houston was never going to do it. I think that's a big issue why the NFLPA and Reid are so upset because I think it has cut out some teams that did need a safety. But the fact that no one signed into these offseason outside of Morgan Burnett going to Pittsburgh, I think that really hurts any collusion claims because, well, Trey Boston, Eric Reid haven't signed, or Kenny Vacarro haven't signed yet. So it's not that outlandish for a team to prefer Boston or Reed. If none of them have been signed, that just kind of hurts your argument there. So Eric Reed is definitely worthy of a safety spot in the NFL. I think he's actually a starting caliber safety. Pro Football Focus agrees with me, by the way. I think he is a big guy you can start at strong safety. He can be a dime linebacker at times. He's not going to be an elite safety by any means, but he can definitely help your team win. And I think a lot of the safeties can as well, and I think it's weird that none of them have been signed.
All right. I want you to answer this straight up for me in
Okay.
as few words as possible.
Feels like a trap, but okay.
Is the NFL colluding against Eric Reed?
I don't think it's a grand conspiracy against him, but I do think a lot of the individual teams have said we're not interested, and I don't think that's actually a good thing for the NFL.
All right, there you go. Eric Reed's at number 2 on our list, folks. So with that, let's get to the top available free agent as we stand right now. Dez Bryant, formerly of those Dallas Cowboys.
This one won't be controversial at all, right,
Of
Cam?
course it won't. Here come the comments. I can hear the keyboards across the nation already, Tom. So Dez Bryant, the reports are, well, there aren't really reports because nobody is really all that interested. In fact, there are teams out there that don't even want to give him the league minimum, according to Adam Schefter.
Which I actually 100% believe, Cam.
Okay.
I actually totally believe that there are a bunch of NFL teams that don't want to bring in Dez Bryant because there are a lot of NFL teams, Cam, that just don't need a wide receiver.
I agree with that.
So if you're a team, let's just think of what team has invested a lot in wide receivers in recent years. Let's say, for example, you're the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, do you really need a wide receiver right now? Like, do you need somebody who's going to come in and be legitimately maybe your 4th best wide receiver? Are you going to pay for that?
Well, you don't have a great amount of cap space.
Absolutely not. So there are a lot of NFL teams that just straight up don't need a wide receiver. There are a lot of NFL teams that straight up don't need a linebacker. So on that end, why would you bother throwing money out at somebody? If he's not going to be a key player for you, there's no reason for you to do that. If you're a team like the Dolphins, you've sunk your money in at wide receiver. You can't afford to give anybody else money there. If you're a team like the Steelers, you drafted James Washington, you're going to bring in Dez to be your 3rd guy and deal with that? You're not going to do that. I think if you're a team like the Denver Broncos, that's probably maybe the best example. You have Thomas, you have Sanders, you have Carlos Henderson, then you drafted 2 guys as well. You're not going to ever offer money to Dez Bryant. So that's where that report comes from. But I do believe that Dez Bryant will be signed. It's just a matter of where. I'll throw out another team here as well who should sign Dez Bryant, Cam. How about the New Orleans Saints?
That's an interesting one,
I
Tom.
think I saw that one in the comments. I can't remember by whom, but I agree with you there because think about it. They just cut Kobe Fleener. They saved some money there. They could do it. Now, yes, the Saints did go out and they drafted somebody else. They drafted Traquan Smith. But Thomas, Ginn, Meredith Smith, Dez Bryant, you can cut Brandon Coleman if you want. It's a fun receiving core right there.
I'll give you a team.
He'll get signed.
The
guys.
Colts. Keep an eye out for the Colts as well.
If they want to actually have a receiver outside T.Y. Hilton, then yes.
All right, we got to move. We got to recap the entire list here. Colin Kaepernick, Antonio Gates, AP, Eric Decker, Julius Thomas, 25 through 21 there. We got Tyvon Branch, Jahri Evans, Terrell McClain, Quentin Demps, and Mike Mitchell, 20 through 16. And then 15 through 11, Adam Jones, Maclin, Murray, Breaux there, and then Kayvon Webster. And then 10 through 6, Robert Ayers, Austin Howard, DRC, Kenny Vaccaro, Trey Boston. And then your top 5 available free agents right now, Jonathan Hankins, Bashaud Breeland, Navorro Bowman, Eric Reed, and Dez Bryant there at number 1. Some names we left off, Alex Boone, there's Kobe Fleener, Brandon Marshall, Tom, Connor Barwin, and T.J. Ward.
Sorry that we left you guys out.
All right, Jedi Messiah chiming into the comment section. That is a fantastic name. What should I watch after the show? Well, I'll tell you what, we've got you covered with all the latest NFL, NBA, college football coverage, MLB, so much more. Download the Chat Sports app, chatsports.com/app, and then also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jedi, and may the Force be with you. That's a great name.
I'm so proud of you, Cam.
For Tom Downey, I'm Cam Rogers. This has been NFL Daily, and we'll see you next time.